Plenty of trade rumors have surrounded the Cardinals during the offseason and now continue into spring training. Today, we're going to discuss the realistic idea of still trading away guys like Nolan Arenado, Erick Fedde, and Ryan Helsley.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on X at JD Sports Radio. The podcast available at LO_Cardinals. We're also on YouTube. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and hit that notification button so you don't miss any new episodes or shorts that we drop. And we're also available on TikTok and Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. So, the Cardinals were winners on Sunday over the Yankees by a score of 6-5. Very nice, very nice. We will discuss that game a little bit later on, but before we get to that, I just want to address some of the rumors and ideas that have been floating around the web. The one thing that you can always count on in spring training, obviously, is injuries for most teams. They're going to happen to every team, really, in some way, shape, or form. Some will be like big ones, season-altering types of injuries. Others will be a minor inconvenience here and there. Like the Cardinals are dealing with a couple of injuries right now. Zach Thompson is out with the lat strain. We don't know what his role was going to be with the big club anyway. Jordan Walker, minor inconvenience right now. Big spring for the young right fielder who's gotten the keys to the car, so to speak, in right field, but got injured while playing right field when he stepped on a friggin' sprinkler head. Of course he did. And will be out about a week before revving things back up again. All of the reports about Walker, though, have been positive since the injury happened, and barring any setbacks, he should be back on the field this week. Going to be reevaluated on Monday. What the Yankees are dealing with, since Cardinals just played them on Sunday, is potentially season-altering. You've got ALCS MVP Giancarlo Stanton out with tendon issues in both of his elbows that have kept him from swinging a bat since January. So it's pretty bad. And some reports are that there's a possibility he could be out for the year. AL Rookie of the Year, Luis Gil, out with a lat injury. Just like Zach Thompson, lat injury. Going to cost him at least 3 months. Ace Garrett Cole, as of right now, out with right elbow injury that the team is hoping won't be season-ending. They are preparing for the worst, but hoping for the best. But it doesn't sound good for Garrett Cole right now. DJ LeMahieu, he's out with a calf strain. These are major problems. These are serious injury problems for a team that, was in the World Series last year. So it could cause a team like the Yankees to go explore some other options, perhaps even make a few trades. Now, the Cardinals are listening to offers, at least they were, this offseason, mainly on Nolan Arenado. When you've heard John Mozeliak talk about his offseason, he went to the guys that had the contracts and the no trade clauses, except for Miles Mikolas, who, he said, I didn't even really bother Miles about that. I didn't think he'd want to go anywhere. But Wilson Contreras, Sonny Gray decided, we want to stay. We're cool with being here. We don't really want to go anywhere else. Nolan Arenado said, you can explore a couple of things for me and we'll see if they work out. If not, no big deal, I guess. Most of those whispers have died down now that camp has started. But now that you're starting to see more teams with championship aspirations dealing with injuries, Cardinals might get a couple of phone calls. The Yankees, who we just talked about, got a lot going on. The Mets have lost Sean Manaea, Frankie Montas, and Francisco Alvarez. They're all out right now. The Orioles are missing Grayson Rodriguez. Gunnar Henderson, former Cardinal Andrew Kittredge, got hurt. He's going to be gone for a while. The Braves are still working back Spencer Strider, Ronald Acuna Jr. They just lost Sean Murphy. The Mariners lost George Kirby. These are some big names on teams that were thinking they were going to be competing this year. So it could prompt some of these guys to pick up the phone and call John Mozeliak to see who, if anyone, is still available in a Cardinal uniform. Hence why you're starting to see trade proposals popping up a little bit more around the internet. And these are all just speculation. There's no real report on anybody being dealt at this moment. I don't want to freak you out or anything, but people are chatting, people are discussing this stuff, and I wanted to catch you up on some of the discussion about these guys on the Cardinals that some of these teams might be interested in. So we'll start with our friends over at redbirdranch.com. We're always throwing out ideas about things that the Cardinals could do at any point in time. This one brought up about Erick Fedde from our guy Thomas Covain, who says that maybe the Cardinals shouldn't wait on trading Erick Fedde and maybe try to get a deal worked out now. Thomas suggests that perhaps some of these teams who are desperate to fill these new holes in their rotations might be willing to part with some decent prospect talent in return for the Cardinal right-hander, who, doesn't cost much, at least, compared to what, starting pitchers normally cost this day and age with his kind of production. He's only going to cost $7.5 million, which is peanuts in the baseball world. It's going to be a free agent at the season's end, so you're not stuck with some long-term contract or anything like that. And so far this spring, Fedde has looked pretty darn good. I mean, he's made 3 starts thus far. He's thrown 6 innings. He's allowed 1 run, which was a solo home run by the Astros' Isaac Paredes. Has given up 3 total hits. He struck out 4. He's walked 2. Nothing spectacular, but solid. Erick Fedde-like stuff, right? Meanwhile, the Cardinals, if they decided to deal away Fedde, could gain some prospects, open up another spot in their rotation that currently has 6 guys competing for those 5 spots. That would essentially end this battle for the 5th spot, and you would just have McGreevy and Pallante in the rotation, case closed. You wouldn't have to worry about it anymore. I get it. I understand this thought process, and I understand why Thomas brought it up, and if I'm Mo, I'm definitely listening if people are calling about this. As he said before, nobody is really untradeable, okay? They just have to get the right amount in return. I'm a fan of starting rotation depth. I've seen it bite the Cardinals in the butt many, many years, and it's kind of nice to have a little bit of starting rotation depth at the moment. Not a lot of teams got it, and you can see, with some of these injuries that people are dealing with, it sucks when you get stuck in one of those spots. So I don't really think the Cardinals view Erick Fedde as part of their future beyond this year anyway. So if one of these teams is calling and out of desperation starts offering something pretty decent, I wouldn't hesitate to pull the trigger. One of the risks that you take is that if you hang on to Erick Fedde, and let's say things don't pan out and his numbers aren't good, or heaven forbid he does get hurt, then you're just screwed and you're not going to get anything for him. But if he's a hot commodity right now, hey, why not? Why not, right? Now these teams could also pivot, and they could just sign one of the former Cardinals that are out there in the free agent market, talking about Kyle Gibson or Lance Lynn. Both of them still available, as is Spencer Turnbull. But I think it's funny that Gibson and Lynn are both still available out there. Last year when the Cardinals signed them as free agents, I was like, we were all like, what? Why are we going here? Why are we just going straight mediocrity? What is the point of this? And you can see how the rest of the league views what they did for the Cardinals last year. They weren't bad, but they're just meh kind of guys when it comes to production. So Spencer Turnbull didn't have a bad season last year. Injury stuff, but I'm guessing their agents will get some calls now. I'm almost certain of that. So I'd expect to see them to get scooped up pretty soon. Baltimore in need of a guy, Kyle Gibson. He's been there before. Imagine Lance Lynn in the Bronx with the Yankees and the crotch grabbing and all that stuff. That could be fun. Anyway, Nolan Arenado's name continues to be brought up in trade speculation as well, despite us trying to avoid it, and now has reportedly added 2 teams to his list of places he'd be willing to go. We'll discuss those reports coming up next on Locked On Cardinals. Thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Leave your comments on YouTube as well as on X anytime you want. Your feedback is always welcome and encouraged. The New York media is trying like hell to get Nolan Arenado out of St. Louis and to Gotham City as fast as they can. John Heyman wrote about Nolan Arenado being with the rebuilding Cardinals and how it's a shame that Nolan Arenado has to play for our poor Cardinals who are going to just be dog crap apparently this year. And then you've got Michael Kay, who does the play-by-play for the Yankees on the S Network. He was on with John Heyman on his podcast and talked about how he's been saying since the beginning of spring training that it's such a natural thing for me to bring Arenado over to the Yankees. He said he's heard that the Yankees are not exactly high on him, but looking at what the Yankees have right now at third base, Kay seems to be willing to make a deal. The problem is what the Yankees want to give up, at least what Michael Kay wants to give up, is something the Cardinals don't have any interest in trading for. Kay said he thinks if the Yankees could get the Cardinals to take Marcus Stroman, that he would make that deal. You don't say. You would do that for us? Oh my gosh. You'd like the Cardinals to take your bad contract that you gave Marcus Stroman in exchange for one of the greatest defensive third basemen of all time, all-star caliber third baseman, I think still now, despite his down year last year, certainly a future Hall of Famer. That's what you're going to do? You're going to give us Marcus Stroman? That's what you think it would make sense? Sure, that makes sense for the Yankees. That don't make any sense for the Cardinals. Again, Arenado has regressed offensively the last two seasons. I get that. But still, the point of moving Nato is to, we want to open up some playing time for some other guys, which is great, but also we're trying to shed salary. That was a big part of it. Stroman makes $18.5 million, has a vesting option for next season, which becomes a player option if he hits 140 innings pitched, which he did last season. That would lock him in for another $18 million next year for whoever's got him on their roster. His total number of $36.5 million, it's less than Nolan Arenado's $64 million that he still owed, but it's not nearly the savings that the Cardinals were reportedly set to get away with in that Houston Astros deal that got vetoed. So, the Cardinals taking on Marcus Stroman, and you're telling me the Yankees aren't going to ask us to eat any of that money too on the Arenado deal? They're just going to player swap it? Like, no. And the way the Yankees have talked about him, why would we want him? Like, you guys didn't seem to want him in your starting rotation. And the ironic thing is now the Yankees, because they're dealing with these injuries, might have to rely on Marcus Stroman more than ever now. So they're in a bad way right now with the Yankees. So if I am John Mozeliak and the Yankees come calling, I mean, I'm shooting that prize. Oh, you really? You want Arenado now, do you? Well, it's going to cost you a whole lot more than it would have before, because now you guys are stuck and you're in a bad spot. Now, the two teams that Nato has reportedly added to his list, this according to Heyman, are the Mets and the Phillies. Now, the Mets re-signed Pete Alonso, so there isn't any room on the infield for him anymore anyway, so I don't know what that does. And then the Phillies, they never moved on from Alec Boehm, so they don't need Nolan Arenado for anything. The Astros reportedly came sniffing around again after Bregman shot him down and went to Boston instead, but there hasn't been much more about that since that happened. At this point in the spring, we're on March the 9th. We've only got a couple weeks left. Nato's going to be a Cardinal on opening day in 2025. There are worse tragedies in the world. People who are upset about this, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that bothers you so much, but great guy, great teammate. He's really the last star player that the Cardinals even have on this roster. No offense to Wilson Contreras and Sonny Gray, but I mean, there's not a whole lot of star power on this roster, right? And although he's only hitting 160 this spring after today, he says he's locked in. Physically, I think he looks good. It appears mentally he's doing all right. He seems to be smiling a lot in a lot of the video and footage that I have seen, despite this bizarre offseason. So I feel like he's come to terms and he's at peace with everything at the moment. Maybe we revisit trading somebody like Nolan Arenado at the trade deadline. Maybe that's something that can happen if he's up for it, but he's got the no trade clause, so he doesn't have to go anywhere if he doesn't want to. I just feel like he's ready to be a Cardinal in 2025 and wants to see what this team can do. Then there's closer Ryan Helsley, a guy we all thought would get moved this offseason, but once again, another one of these guys that got held on to anyway. The Boston Red Sox were mentioned in a trade idea on FanSided that had the Sox sending their number 12 prospect, outfielder Miguel Blaze, and number 14 prospect, right-handed starting pitcher Richard Fitz, plus cash considerations to the Cardinals for closer Ryan Helsley. Now, that right there isn't such a bad deal. That's not such a bad deal if you're the Cardinals. That's one I would be intrigued by. Helsley will be a free agent next year, and if you don't lock him up with an extension this year, odds are he's going to walk away and go to some big market team anyway. The other thing you could do is hold on to him and see if the demand and price for him goes up at the trade deadline. I keep pointing back to what happened last year where Tanner Scott got moved from the Marlins to the Padres, and the Marlins got a lot of good stuff in return for couple of months of Tanner Scott for the Padres, who turned heel and went to the Dodgers as a free agent this offseason with just about everybody else. I don't think Boston is that desperate at this moment to actually still put something like that out there. They signed Aroldis Chapman, who's been pretty good the last couple of seasons, despite getting a little bit older. And then Liam Hendricks also is with the Red Sox. And as entertaining as that deal may be, and that's certainly one that I'd be like, whoa, hold on a second. I think it's just wishful thinking, really, and for amusement at this point. But as of right now, I would be shocked if any trades go down. Again, it would take something big, and the Cardinals are holding the cards. I know, it's corny, but they're holding all the cards right now. They've got the guys that other people want, and they don't have to trade them if they don't want to. One of those guys doesn't have to go anywhere if he doesn't want to. And then as far as, price should be going up on guys like Helsley and Erick Fedde or any of the starters, Steven Matz, any of these guys that some of these teams might be desperate to get their hands on because of the injuries that are happening to them right now. So I would stand pat and just drive that price up even more. And then if you get to a spot where you can't say no, pull the trigger. I'm happy with that. But I enjoy that the Cardinals have a little bit of depth right now at the starting pitching position, and it's hard to let go of that. It's hard to let go of that because you know how quickly things can change. I want to talk about Sunday's win over the Yankees. We'll do that next on Locked On Cardinals. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Then crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios, one of the highest protein nuts that you can get your hands on. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're also packed with other good things like fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller even longer. And when you're working on dieting stuff, that's really the idea, is you want to feel full longer. That way you don't start snacking on the bad stuff. But if you are to snack, why not snack on something good, like the no shells variety of Wonderful Pistachios? Personal favorite of mine. Grab a handful, throw them down. You're on the move, no big deal. And it gets you that extra protein that I talked about, which is very, very important when it comes to building muscle mass and staying healthy. Protein is, it's huge, and it's hard to get your hands on a lot of it without sitting down and eating things like chicken and steak and stuff like that. That's why Wonderful Pistachios, it's a beautiful snack. Get a quick protein boost and provide all 9 essential amino acids. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball Guru Sully brings you a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on all the teams during spring training. You can find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Andre Pallante, Michael McGreevy battling for spots in this rotation against both each other and against veteran left-hander Steven Matz, really. So that's the 3 guys that are really going for it. I have not been shy about my feelings on this situation. I want both of your young right-handers in this rotation. Quit screwing around with them and put Steven Matz in the bullpen. Just do it. Make it happen. My stance has not changed on this whatsoever. Despite what we saw from Pallante on Sunday, the right-hander had himself a bit of a tough time keeping the ball down in today's game. Third inning, the Yankees made him pay for it, hitting a pair of 2-run home runs off of him, and neither of them were wall scrapers by any means. I mean, these things were nukes. Jazz Chisholm Jr., 110 off the bat down the line and right, went 400 feet. J.C. Escara, 101 off the bat, 422 feet. Both pitches just right down the middle, right over the heart of the plate. just missed his spots. And at this level, you miss your spots, these guys are going to smoke it. And Jazz hit a four-seam fastball. Ascaras was a sinker, and they were just right there saying, hit me. So they did, and they hit him really hard and really far. If Pallante doesn't get the ball down, he gets shelled, bottom line. And that's true most of the time for a lot of sinker ball pitchers. You know, when Pallante's on, a lot of ground balls, a lot of boring ground balls, not much going on, but that's his game. Keeps the ball down, gets the occasional strikeout here and there. That's what he does. When the ball is up, that thing is going to get smashed. And it did today. He gave up 8 total hits, 4 runs, walked 1, struck out 2 in 4 innings. Not a great day for Andre Pallante. Again, things he'll work on. So he's had a couple of bad outings. He had a good one. You know, spring training, we'll continue to ride this roller coaster because we believe in Andre Pallante. Michael McGreevy followed him and gave up a solo shot to Anthony Volpe on a slider, low and in, which just caught a little bit too much to plate. I mean, if you want to be really critical about it, and Volpe put a good swing on it. It happens. You know, these hitters are good. Sometimes they hit good pitches and hit him far. And that's what happened with McGreevy. I wouldn't call that a bad pitch whatsoever. Gave up a pair of 2-out singles, and then with his pitch count starting to grow a little bit, he got yanked, but brought him back in the 6th inning where he worked out around a 1-out single to win the inning. And then he had a 1-2-3 7th inning. So all in all, he goes 2 2/3, 1 run on that dinger, 5 hits, no walks, 1 strikeout. Solid again. He not as crisp as we're used to seeing Michael McGreevy, but still pretty good. Pretty good. Offensively, the big story was the power of the Cardinals on Sunday. They were playing long ball. Wind was blowing out. We saw a lot of home runs today, obviously, on both sides. But 4 dingers on the day for the Cardinals today. 3 solo shots, Alec Burleson, Matt Koperniak, and Cesar Prieto. But the one that had people talking was the one that happened in the 4th inning. It was a 2-run shot by one Nolan Gorman. What a blast it was. Got a fastball in, and he just opened up those hips, and he smoked this sucker down the line, over the wall in right field. StatCast had it at 109.1 off the bat, 396 feet, went over the tent there in right field. But it probably felt like it went 500 feet with the amount of weight it took off of Nolan Gorman's shoulders, and everybody felt really good about it. You know, I got a lot of people on X blowing me up like, there he is finally. And I'm like, I know, because we want good things for Nolan Gorman. He's never done anything that has made any of us want to root against him. You're rooting for him. This is a guy that's a big part of the future of this team. It's his first home run of the spring. He would later hit a double to right and ended his day 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. He's now got hits in 5 straight games. He's gone 6 for 17, which is a 353 average after going 0 for leading up to that. He's got 2 doubles, now the home run. And what stands out the most to me, over the last 17 at bats, only 2 strikeouts. Only 2 strikeouts, which you love to see. Hopefully, they can get similar production from Jordan Walker when he returns, because I cannot stress how important it is for this franchise that these 2 guys pan out and become big-time players for the St. Louis Cardinals. It's got to happen. Koperniak stinger, opposite field off a lefty, which is a big deal because we know how lefty-heavy the Cardinals roster is, specifically in the outfield. So if he's able to do damage against lefties, it makes his ability to make this roster even bigger. So you got to like that for Matt Koperniak, who just keeps hitting. Alec Burleson shot, no cheapie. 102.8 off the bat, 429 feet over the center field wall. His first of the spring. Prieto's was the game winner into the bullpen in right center. Shout out to the bullpen, specifically JoJo Romero and Chris Roycroft, who came in and threw 2 shutout innings and struck out 5. Roycroft closes out the game, striking out the side. Neither of them has allowed a run yet during the spring. JoJo, we know, is going to be a major part of the pen already, but Chris Roycroft, one of those guys who continues to put his hat in the ring for an opening day spot as they continue to jockey for those final positions in the bullpen. Victor Scott II, 2 outfield assists from center field, which you love to see because, everybody obsessed with Michael Ciani being so good defensively in center field. And I keep telling you, Victor Scott is not that far below Michael Ciani, and he gives you more upside on the offensive side of things, although he went 0 for 3 today and is now 0 for his last 9. Brendan Donovan was supposed to play on Sunday, ended up getting scratched so he could reportedly get more pregame work in. So they were like, well, you're doing all this. We don't need you to play in this game. Jose Fermin got the start instead. He had a sack fly RBI today, I think. I think it was a sack fly, wasn't it? Jordan Walker scheduled to be reevaluated on Monday from his knee injury, but things sound pretty darn positive since it happened. So things seem to be going in the right direction for Jordan. Next game for the Cardinals will be on Monday with Sonny Gray scheduled to start. It's a night game, by the way. It's just a heads up there. They'll be taking on the Mets. We'll see if Sonny can keep the ball in the yard this time after giving up 3 taters in his last time out against the Astros. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on X at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. We're on TikTok at Locked On Cardinals and Instagram. Like, subscribe on YouTube, help our channel and our love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason, and we will see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.